Hey everyone, we're back for video 4 in my Hardcore League How to Achieve 5 of 5 rewards, and I am logged into the Hardcore server. This is the after party, so there is nobody online right now. You can see I am one of 6 people right now who's currently online. So the topic of today's talk, what I want to cover, is shields up. What does that mean? Well, what we're going to talk about are all the different ways that you can layer defenses on your character while you play the Hardcore League server to keep you alive. I made it to level 6, and a bunch of things have changed. So I'll go over those things while we keep in mind that the topic is defensive, sort of wrapping your character up. And we want to examine those a few different ways. There's a few different defenses that you get. I like to break it up into 3 different unique defenses. The first one are complete and total immunities. You want as many immunities as you can get on your character. Depending on your class, some of them will be easier to get than others, but you want to sort of think about them, because if you can get them, they are a must-have. Tier 1, the first thing that you want to do as soon as you can do it is grab an immunity. The next one is sort of a harder to sort of categorize because it's based on percentages. And those are things like saving throws, armor class, things where you make a dice roll and there's a percentage chance that you can or cannot succeed, and when you do, likely the damage or effect that you take is also scaled on a percentage. So maybe it's some sort of damage that you can mitigate when you get somebody casts a fireball at you. You make a saving throw, a reflex saving throw. You make your save, and then you take half that damage, and whatever that damage is then soaked up by a couple of other defenses that you have, such as magic resistance, the MRR number, or your hit points, any temporary hit points that you have, and things like that. And so, and then the third category of what I like to consider essential defensive things that you have is your own skill, your own ability to do things that the game has a mechanic for, but you're going to do it anyway. I've mentioned this in previous videos. Evasion, for example. You can see, when I strafe on my character, I move side to side. And if somebody is trying to cast a ray at me, well, I can evade it by moving from side to side. I have the 3-dimensional field here. I can go forward, back, left, right, up, down. And so that allows me to evade. They give you a skill in the game. You can, if you put points into it, tumble. And, if you have a character that has a high tumble, you can actually jump back, forth, left, right, and evade things even better. I only put 1 point into tumble on all my characters just so I can tumble, but you don't even need to worry about that. If this guy carrying the barrel was, a ray coming at me, well, I just jump out of the way. I'm not going to give the game a chance to hurt me. So this is the point of thinking. The barrel guy just walked into me as I took my eye off the screen, which points out another thing, that you want to pay attention to where you are, what you're doing, and if you can move out of the way, move out of the way. This comes down to some other common sense things Like, if you don't have feather falling, don't run up that ramp over there in front of us and then fall off. Don't go to the guild ship and jump off, without featherfall on. Don't do a long quest that has water where you see a breath bar and you don't have any way to mitigate the drowning effect that will eventually occur if you start to drown, and will actually stand here and drown for a second. So if you've never seen it, maybe you're new to the game, you don't know what happens, but you slowly start to take damage. You can see like that every few seconds I am taking a significant amount of damage. And, if I stay under here, I will eventually die. And then because this is hardcore, I would go to the Land of Lost Souls. And that would be a crazy way to die on a hardcore server, especially since that there are many easier ways that you can mitigate that and keep that from happening. And so we'll talk about various immunities and strategies to get the top tier one, the total immunities. We'll talk about the percentage defenses, the second tier, and then we'll talk more. We'll go over maybe some other tips and tricks I have just learned over the years of playing that you can do physically when you're playing the game to help you survive in certain situations. And so I saved my gold roll for today. We'll see. I'll do it right now because you can see. Let me go over the changes that I've had to my character. You can see I got a horse. Now that's not a horse that I got from an expansion or a package. That is a horse that I won. I got a really lucky gold roll and won the black stallion, and now it's bound to account. I actually won this on Mary, but I just put it in the bank because why not? And now I can ride around on a horse. Had I not done that, and let's say I'm doing this without using, well, almost without using any of the expansion stuff, because if you guys don't have the expansions, I don't want to say, oh, it's easy, but you need this. No, we're gonna play it as if you don't need anything. You can just play Hardcore League with the base game, with the base, quest packs, and although I don't think you can do 5,000 favor without owning some of the content yourself, pardon me too. I've pretty much always been a VIP, so I don't really know how to talk about the premium game or the free-to-play game, but I know that people do post about that, and so if you are free-to-play or premium or preferred, what they call it now, you can Google or talk to other players and find out. I know that Hardcore League Season 1 and 2 were only open to VIPs. Hardcore League Season 3 was open to anyone, as far as I know. And we saw a lot more people playing. We also saw a lot more people multi-boxing in Hardcore League Season 3 because of that. A lot of people would have multiple tunes on, and if you're a multi-boxer, that's fantastic. I sometimes like to multi-box, but I find that while it can be slightly helpful, it's usually not as helpful as you would think. But I have. Not something I do a lot, but since I have the Death Smile Guild and that gets extremely busy, sometimes I do have 2 accounts that I beta tested, and so I've kept them both. When Turbine originally made the offer to beta testers for accounts, I kept 2. So here, I'll do the gold rolls. And I get a free one as a season pass holder. And then I'll do the silver roll. And I will eat the silver and save the gold. Because when they do server transfers again, I will move these things onto my main server. And you can see that my bank is filled with gear now. Well, why? Well, because we are going to go craft one of the layers of defense, and that is our ring with underwater action on it. I've got enough stuff. I haven't done any crafting, 0. So we are going to go and do some crafting. But before we do that, I'll talk about something. I did manage to, in a quest that I ran, I'm level 6 now, so I ran some level 3 quests on Elite. And you can see that I finished all of the level 1 quests, and I took level 6. Now I have one level 2 quest left to do, and then I work on my level 3s. Now, this is exactly what you want to do if you're going for 5k. Every quest that up until you hit level 6, you want to do every quest 1 through 5, and then on Elite, and then at level 6, you're doing Devil Assault on hard or normal, depending on what kind of a group you can find. Or if you found a baller, you could do it on Elite, but I don't recommend that. But so we talked about that, and I posted my skip list in video 3. We talked about some quests, but I looked at Mary, what she had done, and I posted the list of things that I skipped when I got my 5k during Season 3. You can look at that in the previous video. But so I still have the level 2 Stealthy Repo. I'm going to do that with you guys here. And then we'll go also and craft that ring. We're going to melt this stuff down so you can see how hard crafting is. I'm not recommending that you make a crafter for Hardcore League because the time investment is not worth it, especially now that the Feywild gives you access to really good low-level gear. The Catacombs has some level 3 gear, the Borderlands has level 1 gear, and now Feywild has really good level 5 gear with a great set bonus that will cover you until Ravenloft at level 10. But if you didn't have access to Ravenloft and you did have access to Feywild, I think the Feywild gear would probably cover you doing Elite content up until level 20. That's just my feeling. I haven't actually done it, but looking at the set bonuses and some of the bonuses on the gear, that gear is fantastic in the Feywild. So if you're thinking about getting an expansion, that's a really good one to get. Sharn is also a fantastic expansion to get. However, the gear, you can't start wearing that gear, I believe, until it's around level 15 or 17 for most of it. Might be level 17. But it might be 15. Off the top of my head, I forget. It's been a long holiday week, so I don't keep all this stuff in my head. This is what DDO Wiki is for. I have so much stuff crammed from other parts of my life into my head that I don't hold on to this stuff. So, you know, I don't know it off the top of my head. But anyway, I got distracted. I picked up this weird gold Snowpeak coin from a champion, because champions start to appear when you do Elite hard or Elite content or Reaper content after there's no champions in level 1, level 2. So if you do level 2 quests on Reaper, you won't run into any champions. But once you hit level 3, you hit champions. And if you're new to DDO and you don't know, champions are monsters that have these little gold crowns over their head. And each champion will have a sort of a weird name under it. And they have different strengths. They usually don't get any weaknesses from being a champion. They're effectively 2 to 10 times stronger than a normal monster. So if you see a champion Minotaur, for example, it has the strength of at least twice, maybe a lot more than a normal Minotaur. Champions, especially in Reaper, where you are already suffering a deficit and monsters are getting a bonus, a champion can kill an entire party much quicker than even some of the Reapers themselves, you know. So you want to respect the champions. If you see them, you should kill them immediately. So I got this. It's new. I don't really know what it is. Maybe somebody knows what this is. You could comment, let me know. I'm assuming it's gear, new gear, part of the new system that they added with the new expansion. I can't seem to double click it, so I must be able to turn it in to somebody. The Snowpeaks, I think that is an area in the Feywild, but I'm not sure. So maybe somebody knows. Looking at my gear, I'm still using these scepters that we got in video 1. I found this really great helmet that gives me +2 to all my saving throws and a 6 sheltering, and that sheltering covers both my physical and magical resistance. You can see if I take it off, those numbers go down by 6. So, I mean, that is a fantastic helmet for level 5. They make my saving throws decent, although that's still crappy. I've got the brooch that I got when I made the character that helps me with water breathing. I found a charisma +2, which is great because charisma is my main stat. And I also get spell saves +2, which is a fantastic, even with my drow spell resistance. This video is titled Shields Up, right? So we're talking about layering defenses. And whenever anything chucks magic at me, because I'm a drow, I get a really good spell resistance. Anybody can get spell resistance. You can get it when you're on a half-orc barbarian. You just have to slot a spell resistance item. And there are heroic spell resistance items that you can get. There's a level 4 cloak that comes out of the Illusionarium quest out in House Fierlin, and it's a level 4 called the Mirror Cloak, and it gives you a standing level 17 spell resistance at level 4. That's fantastic. For level 4 to have 17 spell resistance. See, I'm level 6 and I only have 13. Spell resistance is basically a shield that's around you that any enemy caster has to overcome before they're able to hit you, and they do so by rolling a d20 and adding to it. I believe they add the spell level to it. It may be their caster level, like their actual CR level in DDO. So if you come across a CR 10 monster and it rolls a 20, it would be able to bypass a 30 spell resist. Now this is a approximation. I might be wrong about the way it calculates, but it's close. You're not off. Looking at the CR of the monster and then adding 20 to that, that's usually a great way to plan on what spell resistance you need. If they fail to get through whatever your number is, let's say I had 31 and that CR10 monster rolled a 20 and rolled a 30, it would bounce off my spell resistance. You'd see a blue sort of an aura and the spell wouldn't get through. If the spell gets through, then the next thing you have that will protect you from the spell is a saving throw, and it's either your fortitude, reflex, or will saves. And the reason a necklace like this is good is it adds +2, a stacking +2 to your saving throws versus any spells. So if I had to make a will save, let's say, I would get an extra +2 from that on top of my will that is an 11. Going down, got rid of the cloak, the Featherfall cloak, because I found a really great pair of boots that give me speed +15 and featherfalling. So since my boots were only +5, I upgraded, and now I have an open cloak slot. My belt is from Korthos, just +5 false life. This ring is from the Borderlands. I don't benefit from corrosion. I do get the extra spell points for having wizardry, and I get that mythic boost effects if you read it, melee, ranged, and universal spell power. So that's why I have it on. I get a bonus to the spell powers, and also it has a blue slot. If I found a sapphire or a diamond that I wanted to slot, it's good to have an item that has a slot in it. The gloves, I don't use magnetism. I have not found a good pair of gloves, but I'm using these because they give me +1 UMD, use magic device. Right now, I use magic device to cast wands, and I have an 85% chance to activate this Cure Serious Wounds wand, so it gives me an extra 5%. This ring I'm wearing because it gives me cold resistance and spell resistance. My cold resistance is 10, and my spell resistance of 13 is pretty good for level 6. The bracers, I have fortification and proof against disease. So fortification is one of the second tier defenses where you get a stacking bonus against being critically hit. Now, the way that fortification reads is very confusing, and I want SSG to change it, because as someone who knows math, when you hit 100% fortification, it's not 100%. When you know, if you get on a main you have on level 30 on your home server, you may have your fortification 330% or something like that. They need to change it to reflect accurately that 100% in DDO fortification is not 100%. 100% means that no matter what, you would not be able to be critically hit, but you can be even if you have 100, because monsters will have armor piercing attacks that bypass a certain percentage of the fortification. And so the reason to have way over 100 into 200 or 300 is because some monsters have quite a bit of fortification bypass. And so they will get through, and there's a chance you can be critically hit. But that it's not for me to decide how SSG displays the stat. It's just when the game originally launched, there was 25%, 50%, 75%, and 100%. And if you got yourself to 100%, you could not be critically hit. It was a complete immunity. But now it's different. That has changed. That's no longer the case. That's the same thing if you go back in time. Disease, proof against disease, proof against poison were items that you absolutely wanted because they gave you what I call top tier immunity defense, where old school now, proof against poison made you immune to every single poison in the game. Proof against disease made you immune to every single disease in the game. But years ago, they changed that. Now they are tier 2 defenses. You still want them, though, especially on the hardcore league. Why, you might ask me? Why do I need proof against disease +1? If I'm going up against a mummy, I'm going to make a fortitude save. Or if I'm going up against a ghoul that has ghoul sickness, for example, I'm going to make a fortitude save. If I just get my fortitude saves high enough, I don't have to worry about ghoul sickness. And if I get it, then I'll just drink one of these remove disease potions and I'm fine. Well, that's great, but we're talking about adding layers, and if you can fit it in on your gear, if you read what proof against disease and proof against poison do, is DDO changed poison and disease to have 3 different levels. One is natural, so natural poisons, natural diseases. One is supernatural, poison and diseases, and then the next tier is magical poisons and diseases. And a proof item, parapet of proof against poison, let's say, in the old days would make you immune to every single poison that is in the game. Now makes you immune to natural poison. Well, why do I need that? I don't need that. I can just carry these poison neutralization potions. Yeah, you want to have these poison neutralization potions because you will come across natural poisons, supernatural poisons, and magical poisons. But in the early game, on the hardcore league server, when you are running around with no money, no ability to buy 100 stack of potions, you just have no power base. You're just out there with your guile and your wits trying to survive, especially in the early stages. Having a solid, complete immunity to natural poison and natural disease is stellar because let's say at level 3 you run into the harbor and you're going to do a quest. Well, low level monsters are only going to poison you naturally. I mean, you may come across a hobgoblin cleric that casts the poison spell on you, and your proof against poison item would not help you with that. But if you come across a scorpion or a spider and they bite you and try to affect you with venom, which they do all the time in these low-level quests. Scorpions and spiders are everywhere. Their poison is natural. You wear a proof against poison item, bammo, you're immune. 100% tier 1 immune. You don't have to worry about it. You don't have to worry about carrying potions if you can't afford them. So if you're lucky and you find a proof against poison item or a proof against disease item, you wear it. Because when I go to do Necro 1 out at level, it's level 4, I probably wouldn't do it until I hit level 7 or 8. The ghouls out there will have ghoul fever. And I'm not sure, I think that's categorized as a supernatural illness because they are technically supernatural, the undead being animated. However, there are diseases that you do come across. Rats can give you a disease. Certain other vermin. Yeah, so important. And then on here, I have my cloak. I upgraded. I have dodge. I have an armor class bonus, and I have Deathblock. I've told you this. This is a tier 1 defense Deathblock. You should wear it. Level 1, if you can get it in the grotto when you're running around with Selimus, I know that she puts a thing on you that you can't die. I would use it anyway. I mean, I'm making a joke, but, you know, wear it. Wear it. As soon as you get out Korthos area and you're running around, you find a Deathblock item, wear it. Whatever it is. I've told you, monsters, some monsters have Vorpal effects on their claws or on their teeth. They can kill you. Flesh renders are notorious for this. Once you get out to the ruins of Threnal, and you start fighting all those flesh renders and fire reavers and ice flinters, they can all Vorpal you. So you want to have Deathblock on as soon as you can get it. And Deathblock is a tier 1 because it is a 100% immunity from death magic and death effects. Magical, that doesn't matter where the death effect comes from. You're immune. Keep in mind, you're not immune to Disintegrate. Disintegrate is a different type of a magic. It's not a death magic. I'm not sure exactly what, I think it's Transmog or something, or Transmorph or whatever, but if it hits you, the only defense you have against that is a saving throw, Fortitude saving throw. So you want to keep your Fortitude saves high, or don't run at beholders that will cast Disintegrate. There are other monsters that will cast Disintegrate. Enemy casters will chuck Disintegrate. Kobolds, once they get up high enough, the little shaman will do Disintegrate beams constantly. They swap out lightning for Disintegrate. And so dodge is a fantastic buff, and that is one of my tier 2 defenses. Dodge is a dice roll percent. And the way that the game works is that if a monster goes to hit you, it has to make a roll to see if it hits your armor class. You know this if you play Dungeons and Dragons. But what it has to do is if you have any bit of dodge, it has to roll first to see if you dodged out of the way. If you dodge, you'll see a message come over your head that says dodge. And the monster doesn't get another chance to swing at you and hit you. It counts that as a miss. So dodge is something really important. The same thing goes for a different type of a bonus, which is what I have with Blur. That is a concealment bonus. And that bonus is a 20% bonus for a monster who takes a swing at me to miss. And that is a different bonus than dodge. So if a monster runs up to you with an axe and he's going to try to lop your head off, Well, the game will say, okay, can this toon dodge? And how do you figure out if you can dodge? You look at your character sheet, and under your armor class, it will tell you your dodge chance. And right now, my dodge chance is 3. So that sounds really low. 3%. So that's 3 swings out of 100 that I will dodge. That's not a lot. But DDO, the way it works, there are so many dice rolls being made at you all the time. When you run into a room and 5 monsters come at you and they're all swinging and everything's going nuts, you will see the dodge a lot. It's one of those things, if you guys ever wear the Guidance of Shar trinket, you learn about the way DDO does percentages, because it's a low percent chance that you will be blinded. You cannot be blinded. It's like a 6-second blind on this trinket. The trinket has really great stats, but the bad curse on it is that there's a chance every time you're attacked that you'll get blinded. Well, what happens when you wear that? In DDO, you're blinded all the time. All the time, because there's so many things coming at you and rolling dice constantly that it's just blind. So, I mean, anybody who knows the Guidance of Shar is like the worst trinket in the game because of that. It makes no sense. So you can use that to your advantage. Dodge, one of the second tier layers of defense around your character to keep them alive. Concealment is the next. So if you were the Starship Enterprise and you put up your shields, well, you've got your dodge, and they get through that. Now they come into your concealment. Are you concealed? And you have a percentage. 20% is 1 out of 5 hits miss. You can get that concealment bonus up really high. Displacement goes to 50%. There are other things that will take it even higher. 50%, 1 out of 2 swings at you misses. Hey, I mean, that's fantastic. You run into a room and there's a whole bunch of mobs. You only have a 50% chance of getting hit. That's if they can hit you through your dodge. That's if they can hit you through your other defenses. Something else is incorporeality. Incorporeality is something that you see on like undead wraiths. Ghosts, things that are not wholly in our reality. Part of their form is here that you can see the outline, but most of their actual form lives on the negative material plane. And what happens when you equip an item that gives you incorporeality, it moves some of your physical body to the negative material plane. I mean, that doesn't actually happen in DDO, but if you look at the Dungeons and Dragons explanation of what incorporeal does. And so you can find items that have the bonus ghostly. One of the reasons that ghostly items are so sought after is that not only do they allow you to hit, they give you ghost touch. So ghost touch is what you need if you want to hit a monster that's incorporeal. So you can't hit, every time you if you just walk up, you learn this as soon as you go and start fighting undead in the catacombs. You get attacked by shadows. Shadows are incorporeal, and if you go to attack them, there's a chance that they aren't where you thought they were, that you just whiff right through because their form is on the negative material plane. What their particular incorporeality is, maybe 50%, 75%, I'm not exactly sure, but you bypass their incorporeality with Ghost Touch weapon, or the ghostly bonus that you find on items. And it will tell you that equipping a ghostly item will give you 10% incorporeality. Well, that's great, because what does that mean? That means 1 out of 10 attacks will miss because you're not on the prime material plane for that one hit that misses. And you can get that number higher. Wizards who spec into Eldritch Knight can get this higher. There are items that give you more than 10% incorporeality. But that they stack with each. So dodge, concealment, incorporeal, they all stack, and they make layers like the Starship Enterprise of shields around you that protect you. So you want to have them. So the last item in the list that I managed to get was Blindness Immunity goggles. I got them out of the Borderlands, and they replaced the spot search goggles that I had. It's great. These have a yellow slot in case I find a topaz. They give me another mythic boost to my spell power, and they also give me a blindness immunity, which is a tier 1 flat out perfect defense, because now I am, no matter what circumstance, 100% immune to being blind. Now, I say that, but there's an asterisk. There are certain circumstances where you can still be blinded or have a blind effect put on you that are not immune granted by these goggles. It's very rare, though. It's very rare. So what I did, though, as a result, is I don't need to carry the blindness immunity potions anymore because I'm immune. Now, especially at these low levels, you know, it's just normal blindness. So I got rid of that, and I was able to make a little bit more money and purchase. I got a 10 stack of all the potions. I bought a few more lesser restores just in case I get stat drained. And, you know, I got 10 disease removal, 10 curse removal, and 10, I used one poison neutralization. These, you want to have these at all times. You want to have as many as you can afford to buy, and you don't want to go anywhere without them. If you get poisoned or diseased and your stats get drained, you can become helpless, and then you can't heal, you can't do anything, and you can be killed very easily. So having lesser restoration, drink it as soon as you notice your stats drain. That will keep you alive. These disease immunity potions and poison immunity potions are fantastic. I'm actually going to waste one here because I want to show you something that is very important to know. When you drink a poison neutralization potion, if you read it, it has a 21-second duration. And what this does is for 21 seconds, it makes you immune to natural and magical poisons that deal damage. That is a tier 1 immunity. That means that nothing can get through that. It doesn't say supernatural. There might be supernatural poisons out there somewhere. But again, it's rare enough that I don't know any off the top of my head. Maybe in some of the raids, there might be a poison effect that goes out that's considered supernatural, but magical. So any hobgoblin cleric casting poison on you would be negated by that immunity. Any spider bites would be negated by that immunity. And a matter of fact, when DDO launched, if you were a cleric and you cast poison, neutralized poison, it used to last as long as, say, Blur. Like, you could extend it. This is back in the day. They changed it, though. Now the maximum you get, I don't know if it's 6 seconds per level. I think that might be what it is. So, once you're at level 10 cleric, you get a minute of this immunity, and I think you can maybe extend that to 2 minutes. But it's nothing like it was. It used to go, a minute per level, and then you could extend that. So you could be running around with back when the cap was 10, you could be running around the 20-minute poison immunity. And then you didn't even need to do that, though, because the proof against poison items that you could find would make you completely immune. So you didn't even need to slot neutralized poison. Most everyone ran around with 100% fortification, proof against poison, proof against disease items. But now it's different. So, you want to keep that. And something about now this may be changed because they did an update, but prior to the Feywild, if you bought disease potions from the guild vendor on in-house K, They were bound to you, and when you would use them, they would just remove the disease that you had on you, and that would be it. Any active disease would be removed. However, the disease potions that you bought in the marketplace or in House J, the ones that were not bound, the ones that were like these, when you use them on yourself, they would give you the same sort of 21-second immunity to all diseases while you had that on. And what people realize is that it's fantastic to carry them, because when you go into Sharn and you fight the Roper monster, you could Google it, a very old school D&D monster. They have a sort of like a vomit effect that hits you and diseases you with all these crazy stat lowering disease effects. Well, you could be immune to that if you use these potions. This is post Feywild, and when I use this unbound one that used to give a buff, it no longer does. So keep that in mind. It's yet another reason why I have this disease, proof against disease. I'm too low level to go up against a Roper. I don't know if a Roper is considered a natural disease or a magical disease. I don't know what type of creature. I guess somebody could look in the DM in the monster manual or DM's guide and figure that out. But so that's that. And then I also years ago bought the Menace of the Underdark, and so I am wearing one of the items that came from that, and that is my Elder Spider Cult Mask. It's a great sort of stacking. It gives me +1 bonus to all my skills. All these skills over here. So I get +1 there. That helps me with my UMD, so my healing wand is a little bit better. And it also gives me a bonus to save versus poison. I realize not everybody will have that, and you know, I debated on whether or not I was going to wear it, but I sort of, it's going to sound really strange, but I sort of feel naked without it because I've had it for so long. I use it on every character to not have it. But you know what it is. You can see what it does. It's not super OP, but it's nice. So at level 6, I managed to get a few things changed. So I managed to get Cone. You can see. Part of going up to Cone gives me this Inhuman Nature, which gives me 25% stacking fortification, which is fantastic to have, and then +4 saving throws versus poison and disease, also fantastic to have. Those are 2 tier 2 defenses that you want to sort of gather for your character. They're not complete immunities, but they will add a percentage for when you make a dice roll that you're going to come out on top. In here, I got something that I think is essential if you can get it, because it is a tier 1 defense, a gold standard to survive shield, a permanent shield that gives you complete immunity to magic missiles. Magic missiles will kill you and kill you and kill you. They never miss. Once the monster casts them at you, they are inerring. They are 100% chance to hit you and do whatever damage, however many. Those of you who play Reaper and go up against Famine Reapers will know that you can get spam magic missiled by Famine Reapers and die very quickly. So the other thing it does, it gives me a +4 shield bonus to my armor class. So it's as if I had a shield for that equaled +4. But that's irrelevant. The reason I get that is for the tier 1 immunity to magic missiles. Prior to that, I was carrying around I had a wand of shield that would put shield on me for 5 minutes, and then I originally took the spell shield. But the problem with that is you have to remember to cast it. Now, if that's the only way for you to get shield, or there's another spell, Night Shield, that will make you immune to magic missiles, you want to do it. Carry scrolls, carry wands. You can buy the shield wands very cheap. You can get the scrolls very cheap. They don't have a high UMD to utilize them. You want to have that in your backpack, so if you go up against casters that spam magic missiles, that you have an ability, even if it takes you, 16 times to cast a shield on yourself. I mean, you don't want to do that if you're in a group, but if you're by yourself or with a buddy, you could always say, hey, I need a second to put shield on before we go into this fight, because that immunity will save you. So what I did is I respect the shield because now I no longer need it. I'm immune 100%. So I got jump, which jump is a hugely useful spell, especially for hardcore, because it will allow you to get to places of safety quickly. So I have my Expeditious Retreat and my jump. And then I picked up Blur. And Rage, Command, and Featherfall come from the trees that I am living in. Something else that I picked up that is a tier 1, like gold standard, you want it as fast as you can get it, no matter how it happens, is immunity to fear. I got the Aura of Courage. So you can see I gain immunity to fear. That is 100% immunity. That means I'm immune to scare. I'm immune to fear. I'm immune to Phantasmal Killer, the insta-death spell. It doesn't even get a chance to hit me because I'm immune to the fear effect. There's no way a monster can hit me with an illusion that's going to make me fearful. I don't care because I'm immune. I mean, think about living with that. Immunity to fear. How about that? I mean, that's a fantastic. So between Deathblock and my fear immunity now, I'm covered from a lot of the instant kill effects that you see in DDO. And that was a very, very good point spent. Now, you could, like we talked about in video 1 or in video 2, make a Tiefling. Tieflings get fear immunity right out of the box. They are the only race that gets a 100% fear immunity. Other races get bonuses, which is our tier 2. Halflings, for example, I believe they get +2 or might even be +4 saves versus fear. Certain classes, like paladins, get 100% fear immunity because paladins are, paladins. They get a whole bunch of immunities. Paladins become 100% immune to all disease, natural, supernatural, magical disease. They get 100% immunity to all fear. So Paladin you'll see a lot of Paladins on the Hardcore League because Paladins are solid. Not only do they do great DPS, but the Paladin class gets a lot of inherent immunities, and they also get really good self-heals. So you get a lay hands, you get the ability to cast cure wounds, you can do wands, you can do scrolls, you can do potions. They are a phenomenal, well-rounded, and as a result, you see a lot of them. I also got this, which is a tier 2 defense that I think, for its usefulness and effectiveness, I want to say it's tier 1, but it's not. It's tier 2 because what it does is it gives you a bonus based on the level of the caster versus any elemental effects that come at you. And these are a 100% immunity, but it's only an immunity up to a certain amount of points. So when we read this acid resistance 5, that means that any acid damage that comes at you, magical, mechanical, whether it's an acid trap or an acid bolt from a caster or something, the first 5 damage of that you are completely immune to it. After that 5, so if if you pop an acid trap and the acid trap does 11 damage, right? You are immune to 5 of that 11 damage. You would then take 6 or half of 6 if you made your reflex saving throw versus the trap. 6 damage. Now, I'm not exactly sure how DDO calculates that, whether they do the reflex save. You know, you pop the trap, it does 11 damage. You roll your reflex save, you make it, and then it takes half of 11, rounds it up probably because it's DDO to 6, and then with acid 5, then you would take 1 damage, or if it does the resist first, that way too technical. We're not going to get into that. Somebody out there knows. Just for our purposes, elemental resists, these 5 are tier 2 defenses, but you got to understand that it is a tier 1 immunity. It's just it only goes up to the number that it reads. So I have a complete immunity to any cold damage that is 10 or less. Now, what you've realized in DDO is that these numbers are so low because if you walk into a frost trap in some of the mid-level content, it might hit you for 200 damage. So 10 points off of 200, you know, that you still have 190 points of damage to take. But at these lower levels, having resists are phenomenal. And so the reason why I always take this, even though only putting 1 point into it makes it that I spend 60 spell points to cast this. When I need it, I cast this on myself, and you can see I now have 15 versus every elemental ability. And at this level, 15 is, for an immunity, is okay. That means that if I jump into lava, I will still take damage, but I will take 15 less damage. Now, there is a spell later on that is called Protection from Elements. That is a 100% immunity. It functions a little bit different because that only gives you a certain amount of sort of temporary fake points versus that element that will be absorbed and sort of evaporate as soon as the spell effect hits you, or whatever it is, lava, fire, or ice jet trap or something like that. And whatever the specific number is, it gives you, I think it's 10 points plus 1 per level. But I don't think as a warlock I get access to that. Wizards and sorcerers do, and I think also clerics and druids. I take it and use it. It's very helpful to have. If you have to jump into lava, you cast resist on yourself, fire resist, and then you cast fire protection from fire. Why not? You know, I mean, it's just going to help you survive. Especially if you're in the cogs and you have to jump over that lava pit to get to that, I forget the name of the quest. You know, you can either jump to that pedestal, the platform that's going back and forth, or if you have a horse or haste or whatever, you can jump that lava and then swim the last couple of feet or whatever it is. And if you have resist and protection on, it will soak up the damage and you can survive and get to the door and not die. And so we are going to run and do the quest that everybody seems to skip. But I'm going to show you that you can do it. I'm level 6. This is the last level I can go in here. We're going at level 4. I've got my invisibility scrolls. I've got my potions. I've got my spells here. Now, what I do is I always kill these monsters up front. You're not supposed to kill prophets, but we're going to kill some prophets. We're going to leave a few of them alive. but we are going to kill.
Several doors lead deeper into the warehouse.
So we kill him.
High-pitched yapping
I'm not going to open that door.
Before you even pinpointed
We want to run down that hallway there. So I'm going to come in here, kill these monsters, keep them from hitting the alarm. Can basically kill everything. See, that prophet got to the alarm there. It's okay. You can kill everything in here. Okay, so now we're in the phase where we're not going to kill anything else. So what do? I put invisibility on myself. There we go. Now I'm invisible. And now I'm going to run. Stay away from everybody. I need to go through this door. There's a lever on the wall. Hit the lever. If you can. He interrupted me. Yeah, I'm in a very bad situation. Seriously. You can see why people skip this quest. I can't see where I'm going. Oh, there's the door right there. Yeah, I see it. Okay, I'm gonna heal. I'm gonna re-invis myself. I'm gonna try to drag this stuff outside so I can get in there and get that lever. And this is stuff that you have to be ready for. You have to be ready for stuff to go wrong. Here we go. We're hitting the lever, and now I invis myself again immediately. As soon as I pull that lever, and I ignore everything and just run. Leave it all. You're gonna pop an alert, a dungeon alert. That's okay. We're invisible. You check to make sure that's on. I'm gonna pick up this collectible. That does not reveal me. I'm going to ignore these guys here and do the best I can to stay away. I'm gonna hit this lever down here and then climb the stairs and hit the ladder and hit this lever and then invis right away again. I'm gonna put blur on myself. Blur does not remove invisibility. I want to pick up that.
A ramp descends.
So now I have another lever on the wall right over here. I don't see any monsters, so that's great. As soon as I pull this, I'm going to invis again. I'm going to run around because that prophet's going to hit that alarm, and the gem I'm picking up is right here. I'm going to pick it up and run. And now I'm going to kill everything because now I can't fail. I gotta watch out for, see, he tried to hit me with the scare, but I'm immune to fear, so it doesn't matter. I can run around so they can't get a good shot, hit them from behind. There we go. Here's this little shaman. He wants to lightning bolt me, you can tell, but see, another scare. I'm immune to fear. It doesn't matter. It's 100% tier 1 gold standard immunity right there. And I can get the chest and look around, see if there's anything coming. Nope. So I am safe to recall. That's it. Done. Nice and simple and easy. Now you saw it got a little wonky in there when that named caster, who we could go back and kill, but it's not worth it. Put up that fog and I couldn't see where I was going. And they were chucking lightning bolts. So, you know, if you didn't know what you were doing, you could easily start attacking them. Look, that's a repeat, but that's one level higher. You can start attacking them, get distracted, and then end up dying or failing the quest because you can't kill any of those prophets. We did the best we could. So we are going to go now to the House K. Hey, there's somebody playing. That's cool. We're going to run House K. I will pick up this quest because it's a level 3 quest and I need to do level 3 quests. Now, there is a quest in the harbor at the gate where we got our green bag. The person from House Cannith will give you the bag, and they will also give you a quest. And the quest will give you things that you need to craft. But I'm not going to do that because, like I said, I don't think making a crafter on the Hardcore League, you can get the quest from this guy here. You know, with all the content now and all of the set bonuses, I'm not sure if spending the time. I mean, clearly, if you want to do it, I always make Mary a crafter just because, you know, if I can help people out. But the honest truth is, the way that DDO crafting is, it's so expensive for me to craft something for someone mat wise. It's usually not worth it. It's usually worth, because what they usually want crafted are things that we can craft, and we're gonna craft the underwater action ring, and we're not going to do this quest because we don't need to have any crafting ability to do it. I don't need anything. I already have 100%. So the reason I saved all of this junk gear is, I can sell that, is for a demonstration of the where I will get my essences. I already have some essences, but I am going to take all of this stuff and melt it down and get some essences. This is exactly where you would do the same thing. I looked through all this gear before. Actually, these boots, speed 15, jump 5. If the server was up now, I would keep these boots either for my other character or, you know, because I play with 2, I make a favor and a Reaper tune. I would keep them for that. Or you could sell those on the shard market. This armor has a blue slot, which is great to see because I haven't seen random items spawning with slots, so I guess they fixed that. And you could, if you wanted to, make this a blank with a blue slot and try to sell it, somebody would buy it. I will actually save that. Not that I'm going to post anything because nobody is playing the server, but it's something I can talk about with you guys. That Charisma 2 ring I would also save because it is a minimum level 3 with 4 bluff on it. I would use it or sell it, so I'm going to save that. Proof against poison, dodge. I have already talked to you about why I love proof against poison and dodge, so I would save that and try to sell them or use them. This robe has fortification 51%, which at level 5, that is great. That is moderate fortification, and that is what you want. That's the best you can get, unless you happen to be a class and a race that gets some bonuses to it. Like, you know, I get bonus 25% from this core ability. I managed to get this Omni Dust in I think it was a gold or a silver roll. So those rolls, you definitely want to do them. They are helpful. Oh, and the Deathblock bracers. So I will save these items as items that I may use, may sell. I've got the mats. There's the wooden idols. So I'll take them. There's my sweet white caps. I need to save a ring because I am going to make an underwater action ring. And so I come into the deconstruct. Oh, what do I need to do first? The first thing I need to do is go over here and buy these dissolvers. And they will allow me to dissolve and turn these items that I have into essences, gold, and I forget what else. Off the top of my head, I'm blanking out. I'm going to buy these two because I need to make the ring. We'll see. We'll dissolve something and see exactly what it turns it into. Oh, experience as well as something that you get. So dissolve. There we go. So I dissolved that. I got 2 Cannith essences. And I got crafting experience. You can see 2. It's not much. But I'm going to dissolve all this stuff to show you, because I only need 10 essences to make this ring. Now I've got to save this ring. I am not going to dissolve it. I'm going to disjunct it, because that's the ring that I'm going to craft on. Obviously, if you could find a ring that has a slot or 2 slots, that's even better. But the rest of this stuff, I am going to just get rid of. Now, if you ran through the quest, he would have you craft something and go through a tutorial, and you get an elixir that gives you a bit more experience. And that's not something I'm going to, like I said, worry about, because in my experience, you're either the type of player who wants to do the crafting, but for the most part, it's not worth the time and the money, because you need tens of thousands of essences to get up to a level where it's useful. So usually, you know, as guild master, I tell the guild right away that I'm going to be working a crafter, and any help would be useful. And then I managed to get a crafter up. I think I got Mary to 325 crafting or something like that. But that was over the entire hardcore league event, and you know, the reality is I was only able to help a couple of people because you know, it's very expensive to craft gear for other people. And in my opinion, you know, if you own Ravenloft, Sharn, and now Feywild, the gear is usually equal or better. So I got to level 6, but I don't need to be at level 6. I can do this with just with 0. And there we go. I need 5 idols, 15 white caps, and 10 Cannith essences. I have just enough. Well, doing all of that melting down, I got 65. So here we go. 100% chance. I don't need any success boosters. I didn't have to spend any money. I didn't have to spend any time. I didn't have to deconstruct. I mean, I deconstructed almost 30 things. I still have 55 shards left, so I could have deconstructed a lot less than that. And those were all level 1, 2, and 3 items. And then over here, this is bound item construction. I take my ring. Oh, you know what? This is interesting. I don't craft every day, so I do need to make one other thing. I'm glad that we're doing this so I can go over this. So I need a minimum level 1. I have to, basically, this is blank. I need to tell the system, hey, I want to make a level 1 item, and then I will apply the bonus, whether it's a suffix or a prefix. So there's my level 1, and I needed 10 essences to do that. So I've used 20 essences so far, 15 mushrooms, and 5 wooden idols. So here's this. I make this level 1. So now I have a level 1 ring. It's bound to the account now, and I have the ability to put a prefix and a suffix. And I want to do underwater, so that is a prefix, and I craft. Again, it's 100%, and there is my underwater action. If I had more mats, more materials to craft, I could make Featherfall. A Featherfall ring, that is also a prefix, so I couldn't do it on the same ring, but I could craft myself a underwater action ring and a feather falling ring if I didn't feel like running around in the Borderlands. I think it's easier to run around in the Borderlands because Featherfall requires you to have prayer beads, or you get these from kobolds all the time, but the Keeper prayer pamphlets are kind of hard to find. They're, even though I wouldn't say that they're super rare, finding 5 of them quickly, you'd have to, those Baudry Cartman quests, you can find them in there, but it's kind of rare. Much easier to just go get the cloak out in the Borderlands. You saw it doesn't, that thing spawns a lot, so it would be a lot faster than doing it this way. Then the other thing, you can do Deathblock. You don't need, I have 100%, it's level 1. You can see the suffix. I can put Deathblock on a shield. I can put Deathblock as a suffix on a belt. And I can put it as a suffix on a set of armor. So I could take that leather armor that I have with the blue slot and make it into a blank, make it level 1, and then craft this Deathblock shard for 15 amber vials and 5 vials of pure water. Make that, and then I would have Deathblock leather armor with a blue slot. But, I decided I'm going to stick with robes. I don't want the arcane fail yet. Later on, I will, once I have the points, I will go up into this tree once I'm level 20 and wear medium armor. I'll drop the cone once I hit level 20, and I spec into Enlightened Spirit all the way, and I burst, so I'm not blasting anymore, I'm bursting to do the DPS, and then I put all the remaining points into Tainted Scholar. I get up to Tainted Scholar. You can look at the build, I'll post a link. I get to core tier 6 here, core tier 5 here, and I'm no longer in this. Something else I wanted to talk about, because I didn't talk about, is that I put my universal tree point into the Feydark Illusionist, and I have this little dragon that follows me around. You can see him right there. And you might ask me why. Why would you do that? There's other trees. Well, I'll tell you something. I used to use Inquisitive because that would give me a bonus to my hit rolls, and it would also give me a allure, +1 to all my allure skills. You could also use Harper, which gives you a +1 hit evil and 1 universal spell power. I think for a caster, though, the Feydark core tier 1 here is better, because I not only get +5 force spell power, which I am using force spell power to do half of my damage. So my force is 97 and my fire is 97, and my 2 damage types that I'm doing are force and fire. I also get 5 universal spell power, and universal spell power down at the bottom there, 33, is a different type of bonus, so it stacks. So I get 10 spell power from this, as opposed to 1 or none, but I get +1 to hit with all weapons, which I don't attack anything with a weapon now, and my allure skills because I'm charisma based, are already decent. They're not fantastic, but they're decent. So I've got my bluff to 15. So now, because I have my underwater action ring, I can get rid of these items that I was carrying that will no longer help me out. And I can slot my ring. So if I need it, I pop it on, and now I have underwater action. And if I can keep it on, but I would rather have the mythic, so I will keep this ring on and only equip that when I need it. That's something that, if you don't know, if you want to swap a ring, it's this ring here that swaps. You can see. It's not this ring, it's this one. So that, we are done crafting. And that underwater action is a tier 1 defense because it is complete immunity from drowning. There is no chance with this ring on that I will drown effectively. I have the same immunity that a Warforged has. Warforged do not need to do this because they are constructs. They don't technically breathe, even though I believe that from a lore perspective they can look like they're breathing just to fit in with other beings. But some of them, you know, are very sort of robot-like. Even though there's like wood and branches and stuff sometimes sticking out of them. So that is the video wrap-up. I want to just go over a couple more things before we call it. I'm going to check these brokers just to see what they're selling. Nothing useful. And nothing useful. So there's a proof against disease belt. That's fantastic. Like I said, you pick that up. If you don't have one, just keep it and put it on a bar and equip it if you need to have immunity to a natural disease. And here's a proof against disease ring. Now, if I didn't have these bracers, I probably would buy that. Just to have it. And so what other defenses do we have? Well, we talked about the saving throws, and the saving throws are important. You want to get your saving throws as high as you can get them. Fortitude saves are very, very useful to keep you alive from things that we talked about, like disintegrate. Will saves will keep you from having things like autos dance put on you, although not the irresistible dance. Being put to sleep, for example. And then reflex saves are useful for any time you deal with a trap. Anytime you deal with walking into a trap, you'll have to make a reflex save. Anytime a monster throws a fireball at you, you'd have to make a reflex save. My reflex save is very low. I could use more, but I'm not going to super stress about it. My dexterity is only a 12. Another level of defense, and this is a tier 2 level of defense, is your armor class. Ideally, you want it as high as you can get it. It will give you, it will tell you if you look. You can see my armor class is right now 21, and that means that it calculates that I have a base almost 40% chance at level. That's low. That's low. And that has to do with the fact that I'm not using a shield. I'm in cloth armor, which is no armor effectively. The cloth that I'm wearing has 4 bonus. So that and my permanent shield, you can see +4 because I have the permanent shield on. You know, it gives me 21. It can be hard to get your armor class very high in DDO if you're not an armor class build, if you're not a tank, for example, you know, wearing full plate and carrying a tower shield. As a warlock, I would not want to do that because I would have a massive spell fail, and probably, even though I think you can still blast with the spell fail and burst, I just wouldn't want to have it because all the other spells that I would try to cast would fail. So, and I don't think you're supposed to be able to burst and blast with the spell fail. I think that DDO, it's bugged, or maybe they decided not to fix it because it's been like that forever, but who knows, they may fix it. So we don't want to count on a bug, right? But I know running around in a robe is sort of risky. I'm just trusting to the fact that I am going to do the core tier 3, which is evading, moving out of the way, kiting. Those are all very effective layers of defense. You know, kiting, jumping, moving around, not letting the monsters get a bead on you if they're casting, using the environment. So if this jewelry broker here is an enemy caster, well, I can jump behind this wall and all the spells he casts will hit the wall, and then I can jump out, throw something at him, jump back, jump out, you know, and I can keep doing this for all the casters. There's nobody's ever going to call a foul and say, hey, you're not playing fair. I mean, those little kobold shamans will lightning bolt you into oblivion if you let them. So, you know, any moving around that gives you an advantage where he can't line of sight you, you'll hear people say line of sight, and that's not just a DDO thing, that's sort of a video game thing. You know, break the line of sight. That's a, even though that is a core, what I consider a tier 3 defense, line of sight right there. I mean, how can he break that? It's as effective as a tier 1 immunity because I'm immune to whatever he's going to throw at me because I'm standing behind a wall. Unless he has the ability to blink, like those blink dogs they put in with the Feywild, or the there's a couple other monsters that can move and get behind the wall with me and attack me from behind, then I would have to move over to here. I would just keep moving. Keep line of sighting him, keep LOSing him. You know, you'll hear that a lot in PvP when you're fighting other players, because it is a strategy that works. You LOS the casters, LOS the ranged. Don't give them a line of sight. So, you know, as soon as you know, stick your head around the corner, they blow it off. It works as an effective shield to keep you alive. And so I think that we've covered everything. You know, I think of the last bit of defense, and you know, I don't think it falls into tier 2 is your hit points, because it is a percentage dice roll. You could get hit for 1 point of damage, you could get hit for 1,000, 2,000, 10,000 points of damage, depending on what you're fighting. You want to have as many hit points as you can. Just literally as many as you can get. There's never too many hit points. You want as much as you can get, and that's it. Whether they're temporary hit points, whether they're from false life, vitality, you want to stack as many sources of hit points that you can. I think the Feywild set bonus has a stacking hit point bonus. That's fantastic. I know Feywild, I know Ravenloft has some. I know the Sharn gear has some. You want that. If you know from your home server, Greensteel, you get stacking bonuses. A lot of the classes and classes will have certain core abilities. When you take them, they will give you 5 or 10% bonus hit points. For example, in falconry, a lot of people will take conditioning in falconry for 10. They'll spend the 12 points to get a plus 5% quality bonus to your maximum hit points. Now, if you're on a build that can afford these 12 points in this tree, well, that's a fantastic way to get extra hit points. A much easier way for me to do that is once I'm able to take this, to go back into feigned health. And actually, since I'm here and I have 1 point to spend, that's exactly where I'm going to spend it. I no longer need anything out of this tree. I got my magic missile immunity. I've got my fear immunity. I've got my elemental resists. And I no longer want anything out of this tree. I've got cone. So everything now that I spend up until level 20 is going to be in Tainted Scholar. And the first most important thing, you might say, hey, you want to save up and get strong pack for the 1d4 damage. Maybe you want the extra spell points. No, no, no. I want the temporary hit points, because on the hardcore league, that is gold. When I cast any spell for 3 minutes, now I have 8 hit points extra. My maximum hit points now is 130. And when I add 2 more points to this, that's going to go up. It's just going to keep going up. I will have more and more hit points. Like I said, when I hit level 30 and I get into all my Twists of Fate and my core abilities, I don't think I can open this screen here, but when I get all the epic destinies, then I will have much over 2,000 hit points, approaching 4,000 hit points, if I get the gear that I want and build myself correctly. And for Reaper questing, 4,000 hit points is fantastic. You can still die in 2 hits with that many hit points. I've seen people running the Reaper 4s get one-shotted with 2,000 hit points. If you have 1,000 hit points, forget it. I would say that that's insane. People do it. People take the chance, but my opinion, you want that tier 2 defensive layer of hit points on you to be at least 2,000 when you hit level 30 on the hardcore league. The other thing I spoke to you about the other day is the PRR and MRR numbers. And these are tier 2 percentages. Anytime a monster causes you to take magical damage, the higher this number is, the less percent you take. The same thing for physical damage. Anytime you take bludgeon, pierce, or slash, you will take, if this number is higher, less. I told you my goal is 150 PRR or more. Minimum 150 PRR at level 30. Minimum. And then magic resistance minimum is 100. Minimum. And that will give you a protection layer. You still want to keep your tier 1s. You still want to keep your Deathblock immunity, your fear immunity, natural poison immunity if you can fit it in, disease immunity if you can fit it in. You want your tier 2s. You want those layers, dodge, incorporeality, and concealment. And you want as many hit points. You want your armor class as high as you can get it. You want your fortification as high as you can get it. If you can fit it into your build, spell resistance. You want your saving throws high. And then you want these numbers as high as you can get them. Sometimes it's hard to do. But, you're going to do the best that you can. That's for level 30. When you're running around, like you can see now, I'm level 6 and I have a 12. Well, 12 right now is the best that I can do. I'm wearing a robe. If I put on light armor, which I have a proficiency to use, that number would go up. But I have not found a set of light armor that really made me sort of feel like I want to get rid of the dodge and the death block. And, if we look, I've got a 4 armor bonus. If I were to put on leather armor, they don't have it. But you can see that this studded leather armor, which I would have a 15% spell fail, has an armor bonus of 4, which is the exact same bonus as the robe right now. So it's not worth it for me at this level to stress out over the fact that I'm wearing only a robe. Later on, I will do the best that I can to try to get into some leather armor. But for now, I'm not going to worry about it at all. And so we'll wrap this video up. Hopefully you guys learned something. I plan on doing yet another and just going along with this. So tune in for more. And I will catch you guys later. And I hope adventures go well. Join us for more. I plan to do lore videos for each quest in DDO, as well as the raids. Plus, I will be releasing more Session 0 videos for DDO on topics such as player character races, the religions of Eberron, the last war, and the Mournlands, the dragon marks, the dragon marked houses, and much, much more. Click the like button if you enjoyed this video. Comment down below. I like interacting with other players. My main tune in DDO is named Mary. I am on Sarlona. I also have a guild on the Hardcore League. My guild is Death Smile. Please say hi if you're on either of those servers. Subscribe to see more Adventure AI content about DDO, Dungeons & Dragons Online, and gaming in general. I also play Star Wars The Old Republic. You can join us at Adventure AI on Discord. Check us out on Twitch. Check us out on Twitter. You can go to our Patreon and become a patron of the channel, where you would get access to all of the scripts, the images, the music, the videos, as well as behind the scenes, and the ability to request topics for me to make future videos. Thanks very much. I hope you have a great rest of your day, and I hope your adventures go well.